Today, we're uncovering the truth about Yeshua's crucifixion, what the Bible really says, and what history might reveal. If you're black, you'll see that Yeshua might be more like you than you've ever been told. Before we dive in, I want to say this. I am not attached to any specific symbol. I support both the cross and the Ankh for what they represent. The cross is a symbol of grace and redemption, while the Ankh is an ancient symbol of life and eternity. Both point to Christ. From the beginning of knowledge to the end of knowledge, as we grow, we learn and become better. This is about uncovering truth, not rejecting symbols of faith. So let's talk about the tree. The Bible mentions it multiple times as the instrument of Yeshua's death. Acts 5:30 says, "The God of our ancestors raised Yeshua, whom you killed by hanging him on a tree." This is repeated in Acts 10:39, and Galatians 3:13 connects it to Deuteronomy, which says, "Cursed is everyone who is hung on a tree." So why is the cross the central symbol? The tree versus the cross. In Acts 5:30, Peter says, "The God of our ancestors raised Yeshua, whom you killed by hanging him on a tree." This is also echoed in Acts 10:39 and Galatians 3:13. The Bible is clear about what was used. Why then has the tree been replaced by the cross in mainstream Christian imagery? Historically, the Roman Empire used crucifixion as a method of execution. In many cases, this involved nailing people to a tree or a wooden beam. It was a public display meant to humiliate and dissuade rebellion. But over time, the tree faded in significance, replaced by the cross, a Roman symbol of power and empire. But why did this happen? Could it be that the shift was intentional, to disconnect the suffering of Yeshua from the identification or his identification with the oppressed? The Ankh and its significance. Before the tree became the central imagery of Christianity, the Ankh, a symbol of life and eternity, was already sacred in ancient African culture. It represented divine energy, creation, and eternal life, long before the cross became a Christian symbol. The Ankh is an African symbol deeply connected to the origin of faith and spirituality. Could it be that the cross was adapted from the Ankh to disconnect Christianity from its African roots? What's powerful to recognize is that both symbols, the Ankh and the cross, carry messages of life, redemption, and eternal connection to the Creator. But by hiding the connection to the Ankh, much of the cultural and historical richness of faith has been erased. Yeshua and Black identity. In Galatians 3:13, Paul writes, "Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse for us. For it is written, 'Cursed is everyone who is hung on a tree.'" This is a direct reference to Deuteronomy 21:23, which outlines the curse of being hung on a tree. Think about this. Black people have been dehumanized and oppressed throughout history, often symbolized by lynching and hanging from trees. Yeshua, being hung on a tree, directly aligns his suffering with these experiences. He bore the curse, not only for sin, but also for the injustices faced by the oppressed. This shows us that Yeshua's mission wasn't abstract or distant. It was deeply connected to the struggle of the marginalized. He identifies with those who suffered then and now. Whiteness and the shift to the cross. As Christianity spread through Europe, the story of Yeshua was altered. The image of a white Christ replaced the historical truth of his appearance, and the tree was replaced with the cross. This shift disconnects Yeshua from his roots and the people he most identified with. The cross became a tool of empire, erasing the cultural and spiritual truths of Yeshua's identity. The tree was a symbol of his solidarity with the oppressed, but the cross became a symbol of Roman dominance. Why hide the tree? to suppress the deeper truth of who he was and what he represented. Now let's reflect. Yeshua is more like you than you've been told. The Bible doesn't hide the truth. Acts 5:30, Acts 10:39, and Galatians 3:13 clearly state that he was hung on a tree. This isn't just a detail, it's a profound statement about his connection to the oppressed and the marginalized. And what about the Ankh? Could it be that ancient African spirituality held truths that have been covered up? The Ankh connection to life and eternity aligns beautifully with Yeshua's mission. What's been erased is being uncovered piece by piece. Black people, know this: Yeshua understands your struggles. He stood in solidarity with the oppressed, was rejected by systems of power, and overcame it all. His story is your story. Dive into these scriptures, research the Ankh and its connection to faith, reclaim the truth of who Yeshua is. You are not disconnected from him. He is closer to your story than you've ever known.